I'm Steve Kenny and welcome to Fishery 2015. Throughout this brand new series from fishery.co.uk, we'll be showing you around some of the UK's most popular and prestigious venues to give you in-depth reviews with a unique look at things. We'll be showing you the fisheries and facilities not just from the ground, but also using stunning aerial filming with state-of-the-art drone technologies. Each episode will be going up on fishery.co.uk, the UK and Ireland's #1 reference point for anglers that are looking for information on the thousands of fisheries on offer, including catch reports with reviews and tactics, local tackle shops, anglers' weather forecasting and expert advice from the pros. So if you're looking for a new venue, simply hit fishery.co.uk, and to upload your own catch reports, just register for a free account and off you go. So, to kick things off, we're here today in deepest, darkest Essex at Fryerning Fisheries. Owned and run by proprietor Chris Knowles, Fryerning is home to some immaculate and monstrous carp, and it's here where anglers can come along and smash that personal best or net some of the UK's finest looking carp. Showing you around Fryerning today, we've got one of carp angling's legends. It's fishery.co.uk columnist and all-round carping maestro, Mr. Adam Penning.
Welcome to the lodge. This is just jam-packed full of all kind of ancient piscatorial artefacts, as Chris calls them. It's a real Aladdin's cave. It's like something out of Indiana Jones. I love being in here. This is a lodge that's available for the members to use to make tea. There's facilities there. There's a freezer for bait, and it's a little hub really for the syndicate, and it's a lovely place to sit in the winter. You know, if you're fishing the lodge or the chocolate finger, swims close by, you can stand in here with your sounder box and keep out the weather and have a cup of tea and talk about all things carpy. So Fryerning is, I guess really, if there was a Premier League of UK fisheries, this would be right up at the top. What Chris and his team have created is something truly exceptional, not just in terms of the fish that are contained here, but everything else that goes with it, from the facilities through to the fauna around the lake. It's got a very, very special aura around it, and I love being here. I've been coming down here for quite a while now. I've been associated with, or loosely associated with the fishery for about 5 years, no, probably about 3 or 4 years now, and it's a place where I've caught my biggest UK carp. It's a place where I've seen lots of anglers come and beat their personal bests and catch the fish of their dreams. Fisheries like this, of this kind of quality, don't just evolve or don't just appear overnight. They tend to evolve. The best ones do. Yeah, there's lakes around the country that have just brought in great big scaleless leathery hippos and stocked them into a muddy hole, and you know, they don't have much heart or soul, those kind of fisheries, in my opinion. Fryerning has been established over a long period of time, and the blood, sweat and tears that Chris and his guys have put into creating this fishery with a view to create the greatest UK fishery that there is evident everywhere you look. And every time I come down here, I'm speechless really at the ongoing work and love and care and attention that is put into this site. So to give you a bit of a history of the place, Chris acquired the site, Handley Barnes, in Essex. We're out in Essex, deepest, darkest Essex, near Ingatstone. Chris acquired the site in the late 70s, and we're surrounded by over 200 acres of lush farmland. So you're right out in the middle of nowhere, and that's, you know, that's a key attraction in itself for many people. The development of the fishery started in 1984. And Chris found that not only did he have a valley, a natural valley that was spring fed, but also one that was very, very rich in certain clay and chalk deposits. Chris went through the process of learning about creating the ultimate aquatic life environment to grow big fish, and obviously being natural spring fed and having the best mineral and soil deposits was key to that. Over and above that, it was really a process of working with people in the industry and furthering his knowledge so that Chris could grow monster carp. And he's done that very, very, very successfully, as you'll see as we travel around the lake and we look at some of the fish that are contained within it. The fish were hand-picked, hand-grown, homegrown. You know, they're all English fish, and they've been hand-picked for genetics, fast-growing, but also to have good looks. So, I mean, some of the fish, even though from a distance some of the fish might look quite plain, when you see them on the mat, they're adorned with these sprinkling of star cluster, minute little scales, spangles and starbursts. You're just amazing creatures. A lot of the fish are of Redmire heritage and Leany heritage, you know, there's not many lakes around that can boast a stock of fish with that kind of lineage. On top of that, Chris has set up his own laboratory and research facility where he's tank grown his fish from eggs to the monsters that they are today. And some of these fish are approaching and over 30 years old. This is a real established fishery with old, beautiful and prestigious carp living within it. So through the process of doing that, Chris has worked very closely with people very high up in the EA, and as I said, he's furthered his knowledge about what you need in a lake to create that unique environment to grow monster fish. And I've been fortunate enough to travel around fisheries all over the UK. Very few people have I don't think anyone actually has put into a fishery what Chris and his team have put into what we've got down here at Fryerning. So over the course of this program, we're going to be looking at the fishing that is available here. We've got 3 different lakes, each one offering a different style of fishing for the syndicate member. And each one is individual in its own right, not just in terms of the makeup of the lake and the bottom, but the size of the fish, the type of the fish. And we've got a lake on site which caters for lads and dads through to the main lake, which is your hardcore big carp water. And in terms of a hardcore big carp water, the main lake at Fryerning is hard to touch. There are 14 different fish over 40 pounds residing in her depths, and 2 different fish over 50 pounds, 250s. That's quite something. The interesting thing about the stock also is that we have over 45 pounds. We have a common called the Mommon, which is actually closing in fast on 50 pounds itself. It's 47 plus at the moment. There is a fish called the netted fish, which is a genetic leather. It's got 1 or 2 scales on it, but genetically that is a leather carp. And there's a mirror. So you've got 50 pound and 45 plus mirror common and leather fish to go at, which is unique, I believe, for a UK fishery. Other notable fish, the mighty germ. The famous germ is the biggest fish in the lake, which is peaked at the moment at 54.5 pound and is still growing. That's a fish which I was lucky enough to catch when I first came here, and is my UK PB. I caught it a bit smaller at 47 pounds, a monstrous carp. And other fish like the nun, they make up the A team, the hierarchy of mirrors and commons that do get caught within this lake. The backup fish are truly phenomenal. A huge array of 30-pound carp, commons and mirrors, immaculate fish, which is testimony again to the very sensible rules that Chris and the team have put in place on the site. The fish are all mint and immaculate, and they're thriving in this environment, which is really like a huge, great secret garden, but is also a phenomenal carp fishery. We'll have a look at the security, the facilities, and all the things that syndicate members get for their money as we go around the lake. I'm looking forward to getting out and showing you. It's very bright out there, so I'm going to grab my cup of tea and my glasses, and we'll have a look at the main lake to begin with. And as I'm sure you'll agree, for a panoramic vista, there's not many lakes that can touch this. 18 acres of big carp paradise. So I'm going to take you around some of the swims. We're going to look at some of the tactics that are required to be successful down here. And we're going to give you a guided tour. Sit back and feast your eyes. One of the great facilities at fishery.co.uk is the ability for people to upload their catches straight onto the site, which is a great focal point of information for anglers fishing those fisheries or looking to travel to a new fishery. Down at Fryerning, we've got the old pen and paper method as well, and it's always great for a little sanity check during one of those hard sessions to have a look in the book and see what's been out, where it's been from, because you know the fish in this lake, they're old and they're big, and sometimes they take quite a lot of catching. If you're going through one of those little lulls and you want to just reassure yourself that these monsters do come out, then just wander down, get the catch report. So there's a book on the main lake, and there's a book on the car park and valley lakes, and all the fish that are caught are documented in here by the members. So every single capture, it's got the swim, the weight of the fish, the name of the fish, the bait, where it was caught from. And a lot of lakes around the country purport to have great big fish, and I can tell you that quite a few of them don't actually have those fish in there. Down at Fryerning, everything's laid bare. The fish are in here, the fish are well documented, all the catches are well documented and uploaded onto fishery.co.uk. Everything's here. All you need to do is flick through, have a look at them, have a look at the gallery and the lodge, and if that doesn't inspire you with confidence, then you're beyond help. So they're all out there. Go and catch them. First stop on our guided tour of some of the key swims on the main lake at Fryerning is the lodge. This is the area of water out to my immediate right hand side. There's someone fishing in there at the moment, so we're not going to intrude too much, but it really is a key swim on the lake. It's very, very popular, and it does do a fair number of fish. Don't be fooled into the mindset that it's lodge or nothing. The fish get caught from all around the lake, they really do. But the lodge is a prime bit of real estate. It gives access to a huge chunk of water which ostensibly is entirely yours. If you're in the left-hand lodge swim, because it's a double swim, there's a right-hand side that fishes out into the area of water behind me. But if you're in the left-hand side of the lodge, then you've probably got 5 acres of lake all to yourself. And the lake's only 18 acres, so it really does control an absolute prime area of water. And the fish can often be found up here, particularly during periods of still, warm, sunny weather as we've got at the moment. We've also got a fair few of the local aeroplanes giving us a flyby today, so sorry about that. But the fish do spend a lot of time up here. This is the shallow end of the lake. The areas we'll show you later down at the dam, as dam areas typically tend to be, they shelve off more deeply. This is the shallows, and I think that it's very unexploited during the winter time. And my tip for Fryerning is that sooner or later someone's going to come and exploit this in the cold weather. No one ever fishes up here. It usually has the thickest weed growth, it's not too deep, and I've got a very strong suspicion that quite a lot of the fish do overwinter up here, unbeknown to everybody, and they're just waiting to be caught. Maybe I'll be the one to give that a go. But looking at the area, it's a very, very long cast to the back corner. There's an alcove of overhanging bushes and some lily pads. Tight up against that, the bottom's very, very soft. Thick silt and sludge, so be careful where you put your baits, because with a long cast and the high impact velocity of a big lead, that can drill in and leave you unpresented. If you cast around, there are plenty of firmer spots just away from the trees. It's somewhere in the region of 35 wraps or so to that back corner. A very, very long cast indeed. The fish are over there quite a lot, and they do get caught over there, but there's a lot of underexploited areas to your extreme left-hand margin and in the intermediate zones in the middle of this sort of bay. There's some firmer areas, some very good gravel spots, and really, although it's a 3-rod limit during the summer, you could comfortably fish 10 rods in this bay and still not have it all covered. So the lodge, prime territory, particularly in the summer, does a lot of fish. Our next port of call on this whistle-stop tour of Fryerning Main Lake is the point area, conveniently divided into 2 swims, making it very, very social, and it's also a very good big fish area. Out to the left, we've got the left-hand point, imaginatively termed, and this covers a very, very good expanse of water. You've got open water out to the right towards the island, some nice lily fringe margin going down to your left, and as you go left, the water does tend to shallow up towards the area of the chocolate finger, going towards the lodge, it gradually shelves. Further you come right, the deeper it gets. A lot of the big fish have been caught out here at any time of year, winter or summer. It's a noted area for big fish, and I know some of the big ones have been caught from this swim in the depths of January when it's freezing cold, or in the heights of July when it's 30 degrees. So it's a good travel route through. There's usually traffic, fish coming through here quite regularly. As you come across the swim to the left-hand side point, you can see they're nice and close together. If you fancy a social, there's a picnic table in the swim. Beautiful little setup. Really nicely sheltered. You've got a lovely area of open water out there towards the dam, shelving off into deeper water here. You've got lots of areas of hard ground out there where the coot is that's just demolishing that crayfish out there. There's a big area of hard gravel ground, so a bit of work with the marker float can pay dividends. So the fish do tend to get caught from the harder spots, and they're much better to present your rigs on. You've got an area out towards the island. Again, there's some good hard ground out there, and the right-hand point is again a very good area, particularly in the winter. Does a lot of big fish in the winter time, zigs and bottom baits. I think probably all the big fish in the lake have been caught from this swim. Lovely area to set up. I mean, it's like all of the swims at Fryerning, you're not going to get covered in mud. Beautifully wood chipped, covered with herbage and reeds, and it's like being in a secret garden. The point, very popular, one of my favourite zones. One of the many things I love about Fryerning is as you walk around each swim and around the lake, you come across all of these collecting things that Chris has put in place, and it could be a little wrought iron bench like this, or a great big 3-ton block of rock which has been carved out by the Ice Age, and there's a millstone up there which we'll show you later, and Chris collects all these things, and they give a great sense of character to the lake, and makes it very, very different from anywhere else that you might have been. We're in the double dam swim here on the dam wall, and this is a very popular swim again. It commands a huge area of water, but it's probably the only swim on the lake that you can see the whole lake from, or certainly 90+% of it. And as the name would indicate, being on the dam, you've got deep water out in front. Not a huge amount of features really, but it's an area the fish tend to gravitate towards as the weather gets colder, and it's got real form and track record for doing fish in the depths of winter. So as you look back through the records, a lot of the big hits of fish and the big fish individually have been caught fishing out from the double dam. One word of warning though, this faces south, southwest, probably more west actually, but you get those big westerly winds coming in off the Atlantic, and you've got a good, I don't know, 500 yards of draw straight down the lake, and they really gather pace, and they can hit you up on this elevated bank like a freight train. So it's been a bit of a bivvy and brolly graveyard down the years, this dam wall. So if you come in periods of inclement, windy autumnal weather, then be prepared. Long pegs are very, very useful, but a great area to catch a big autumn or winter carp from. It's a double dam. The millstone. This swim has got a real special place in my heart. It's the swim that bestowed on me the biggest UK carp I've ever caught when I was fortunate enough to catch the germ at a personal best of 47 pounds 4 ounces in November 2012. So it's a special little spot for me, and again, a real beautiful looking swim. You've got the main feature of the island obviously there in front, but loads of options going out there. There's a gravel bar that comes off the island, huge expansive view looking down towards the lodge, and this swim gets the teeth of the southwesterly prevailing winds, so it's a very popular swim in certain weather conditions. It's also the juncture between the deep water here in front of the Warblers and the dam and this bay behind me, which is very shallow indeed, 2 or 3 foot. This is where they very often come to spawn. It's very weedy in here, and the fish often travel from the deep water to the shallow water, and it's a great point of interception. Used to be a swim just behind me where you could put a rod, but that's been closed now because Chris and the boys have made an actual swim further in the bay, which has become very popular. Some of the big fish have been caught out of the bay. The Mommon in particular does like that bit of territory, and in periods of warm weather like this, the bay is always worth a look. Shallow, weedy, it's a real fish trap. But the Millstone, it's got a very special place in my fishing heart. Before we leave the Millstone, I just want to show you what gives the swim its name, and it's this fella, an actual millstone. 3 ton of solid granite, which was used hundreds of years ago to mill flour in a water mill. That's about as good as lakeside artifacts get, in my opinion. Makes a good little bench, good little cooking platform if you're bivvied up in this swim. Totally unique. I love things like this, brilliant. And someone's even left a little quick link on there, so that's going in my pocket. What a swim this is, the Royal Box. Very aptly named really, not because any royalty tend to fish here other than Carl Colucci, but a lot of the guys like to make the extra walk all the way around the other side for the extra peace and tranquility that this swim offers. Not only that, you've got another huge area of water. It's a double swim, so if you're lucky enough to have it to yourself, it's a 15 rod swim. But if you want to double up with a mate, it's another one that's got a beautiful old picnic table in the back there where you can have a little social cook up, and it's probably the most comfortable swim on the lake. I always feel quite at home in here. You've got a lovely island channel running up to the left, open water on the outside of the island, sort of left of middle, and then the expanse of the middle zone, which is a very good bite area in the colder weather. Running up the right hand side from us, get towards swims called the logs and the end swim, which are, with it being spring, we've got a bit of warfare going on between the swans and the geese at the moment, but front row tickets only at the moment. But the lake runs away this way, and the swims terminate after another 4 or so swims, and then the out of bounds area begins, which encompasses that huge area of water in front of the lodge. So this far bank, very tranquil, doesn't get a lot of footfall. It's a favourite for the guys who like to get right away from everybody, and it's also a favourite zone for the fish. They patrol very close up and down this margin on occasion, and historically the weed growth has always taken hold along this margin from the lodge in a thick band all the way along in front of the logs, in front of the Royal Box here, and up behind the island. And when that's thick, you can bet that those fish will never be too far away. So the Royal Box, it's a favourite swim, not just of mine but the rest of the syndicate too.